Hello, winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will, where we share international insight, perspectives, and a little levity on things such as leadership and mindset with Monday Mindset, travel and the travel business on Wanderlust Wednesday, and sports on Fanatic Friday. You can expect each episode to be about 20 to 30 minutes in length. And please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win across all the major platforms, or drop us a line at twoforthewinpodcast@gmail.com. Share some thoughts, ideas, quotes, things you want us to cover, questions you may have. You got the full gamut. It's just up to you to reach out to us, and happy to do so. And also want to thank Nick Menard and Associates with Dream Vacations for sponsoring today's episode. Thank you, Nick Menard.
You're very welcome. Hello, winners.
Hello.
Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Here we are talking about our Wanderlust excursions and things we want to do. And today I thought, we were chatting about this and we thought maybe articulating some of the nuances not everyone may think about, especially with cruising, and what differentiates certain things between the packages or add-ons that they have. Actually, the impetus was before one of our recording episodes, you got a call from a potential prospect, and this kind of came up, and you educated, and she was extremely enthused, and it helped guide her to make sure she picked the right thing they had 3 couples who were going as part of their experience. And it was like, you know what? Probably are winners. Not all of them may know some of those nuances and may find this very helpful.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited for that. Again, the Wanderlust Wednesday episode is more about education, about learning new destinations, new vendors, and things of that nature. And as you could hear last week with our guests, that was very interesting. We received a lot of positive feedback. So that's really something that inspires us to have more guests moving forward. So more to come. But we want to make sure that we also educate you on, what to think about, what to take, because we hear the term all-inclusive a lot, but all-inclusive doesn't mean majority of the time all-inclusive. That means you have a lot included, which is a bit different. So we want to make sure that we are covering some topic. And again, at the end, welcome feedback. If you want to learn about something different, something specific, we are open for it. And we would love to hear from you as well.
Yep, absolutely. So winners, have your pen and paper ready, or get ready to type some notes, because Nick is going to drop some knowledge on you today to help differentiate so that your next dream vacation is actually a dream experience, and not one where you're like, oh, I wish I would have known, or, it could have been better if we had done this. And so the situation I described earlier that came up was on drink packages. So why don't we start there? Because while we know not all of our winners may be drinking alcohol, we know there are some who will be, and maybe detail the differences on the drink packages with the cruise lines.
Absolutely. So yes, the conversation was about someone willing to go to Europe with 2 different couples. So it was 3 couples traveling from New York, from Florida, all to Regina in Italy to do a cruise, 10-night cruise on Celebrity. And that's why I took that hat for today's episode. And doing a 10-night cruise to visit Croatia, Italy, and Greece. And so she was telling me how, I always ask the question. I always say the same thing. I'm like, I'm not judging, but do you guys drink alcohol, and what quantity? So oh yes, we definitely love to drink. I'm like, okay, great. Me too. When I'm on vacation, that's what I do. And so I ask what kind of drinks, because, and that's a question probably they didn't expect, well, we like wine and we like some fine cocktails and things like that. Okay, great. Well, if you look at the all-inclusive package of Celebrity, and I use Celebrity, but it's the same for pretty much all cruise line, not all, but majority of them. So when you look at what's included, it's always classic package, and then it's basic Wi-Fi. So the drink package, the classic package for Celebrity, it's all alcohol drinks up to a certain amount. It's $10, $11 depending the amount depending which cruise line. But for that price, you get usually basic beer. So if you want a Miller Lite or Bud Light, yeah, it's great. If you want a basic vodka, so not Belvedere, not Grey Goose or things like that, the basic vodka they have, and the basic rum, pretty much. But if you want to have any kind of cocktails, so I love mudslide, for example. Well, mudslide, it's always going to be higher than the classic. So you have to pay, for example, if the classic package covered $10, mudslide is $12. Well, you will have to pay $2 out of pocket for each drink you have. So if you have a couple like that, that's not a big deal. But if you drink those kind of cocktails, or you want to have like a specific whiskey, or you want to have like a specific wine, well, you will be directly at $14, $15, $16 usually. And then if you have like a few like that every day, at the end of the trip, it's going to cost you some money. Mm-hmm. So I explained that to her. I said, no, we probably will have to spend a lot more money. I'm like, what we can do is that we can ask for an upgrade on the drink package from classic to premium. And the premium, I believe it's $17 right now. So I don't know a lot of drinks that go above $17 on the ship. So you will be covered. You can drink anything you want, and it's never going to be a hats out.
Even honeycomb?
Honeycomb is definitely, it's at $13. So it's definitely delicious. Yeah. Look back in one of our episodes, end of December, I think it was, or mid-December.
Honeycombs have you buzzing.
I know.
Oh, you see what I did?
Yeah. So when you get those things, it's always an add-on if you have classic beverage. So by saying that, she's like, no, definitely quote me the premium package. So then we quote the quoting package, and they were happy with it, and we took care of everything. So something that when you take a travel agent, you have this kind of question. If you go online and you see your, all inclusive adult beverage, you think that, okay, it covers, but it doesn't. So that's why one other reason to use a travel agent who can really explain you the difference. And in all honesty, when I started as a travel agent, I didn't think about those things neither. But, as you grow in the business, you always think about those situations that comes up more and more. And then you experience yourself because, I travel a lot, we travel a lot. So it means that we experience things like that ourselves. And we realize, next time I will do that. And I will also advise my client to do so. So that's about drink package.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really good. And I think, you touched on something at the end that I just want to double click on. When you're patient and you're asking the right questions to clients versus just nervous or trying to get a little bit amount of information you can make sure that you ask the right questions so that they can get the experience they want. And by asking that question about how do they want to experience their trip in terms of how much they imbibe and what they want to imbibe, you were able to customize it accordingly versus they end up with a surprise multi-$100 bill for the delta between the difference. And then it's not quite as much of a dream vacation as it could have been because they thought it was all going to be included when it wasn't.
Exactly.
You touched on something real briefly, but I think it's important to kind of detail. You mentioned Wi-Fi. Maybe talk a little bit about that with the cruises and the Wi-Fi packages.
Wi-Fi is something I bring up most of the time when families are involved. Why? We all know when children are living on tablets right now. So, when you have a couple or retirees who go on cruise, then, usually I just mentioned very quickly, that's the basic. You have like one device per person most of the time that you can use. And it's mainly for email and social media. They're perfectly fine with that. When it's families, you have children, usually they stream. So they go, on YouTube, you let them watch stuff. So it gives you some peace for like 30 minutes. Or, you want them to have something that they can play with and stuff like that. So we all know on cruises, when you are in the middle of the ocean, yeah, it may be difficult to get good internet, but definitely if you have a classic, you can forget about it. So a premium will give you not only more devices. So a kid may, you may want to have your iPhone or your Samsung, and then you have the children with tablets and with other devices. So you may need more than one device per person. So that's something that's good when you take a premium. But also sometimes you have ability to get a better, streaming coverage. And that's something that is an add-on as well. So if you go with children, I always said I recommend you to take the premium Wi-Fi unless you have no interest to get anything like that, I'm fine with it. I just suggest, because I don't want bad surprise. I'm always all about under promise, over deliver, then the opposite. So I made sure that when I use the term all inclusive, I always put in parentheses and I said, here's what it means. And so, but I like to have conversation with my clients more than just typing. So that's why when I have the ability to talk to them, that those are the kind of thing that I mentioned.
Yeah, that's great, because I remember there was a stretch where I hadn't been on a cruise for a while. And then when we went on a cruise with our boys, and all of a sudden, we got the cell bill because they were on roaming and using some of this. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then same, with not having the Wi-Fi, I couldn't even really do, not that I want to be working on a cruise, but sometimes it's good just to get 10, 15 minutes of work in and save you versus having it waiting for you when you get back. So yeah, huge difference there with the Wi-Fi packages.
Yeah, 100%. So people with children, pay attention with the Wi-Fi. Something that also is very important to know is the prepaid gratuities. So for those who never cruise, it may be weird, but on cruise line, you have a mandatory mandatory daily gratuities to pay for. It includes everything. It includes like the person cleaning your stateroom. It includes like all the servers, the bar, the restaurant. So it includes everybody. All right. It's usually around $18 to $20 per day per person. So that's usually the rate, or sometimes per stateroom. It depends a little bit which one you use. But it's mandatory. It's like a fee that will be added, and it's usually not on your cruise fare. So it means that if you don't think about it, and if you go on 7 nights with like 4 people, you will have like a decent invoice at the end of the cruise that will come under your door the last night and say, hey, here's the payment that you need to pay tomorrow at the guesting, or it's going to take, if you put your credit card in the app, it's going to take off your credit card on the last day. So that's something I always tell, my clients, like, here is the price. I would suggest you to add that to we don't get commission on that, but it's something, again, that's all about setting the expectation so they know how much everything will be, what will be the total cost. So that's something that I like to do as well, to add prepaid gratuities pre-cruise, instead of just letting them. But if they don't want to do it, I said, okay, I just let you know it's going to be a fee. So one time, and you remember, Beth, because I think we were traveling to Hard Rock, like a client called, and then I was putting on the mail, I made a mistake, and I'm like, prepaid gratuities included, and it was not for that specific one. Well, I took responsibility, and I just sent them the amount. It was $450 of gratuities for that specific cruise, but I sent that because it was my mistake. I put that was included, and it was not. So, again, I'd much rather have the client knowing what to expect than to have a surprise at the end.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, one of the things that you don't necessarily, maybe everyone thinks about, but it's even like the towel people, we're giving you towels and all that stuff. So there's a lot of things. And, there's a lot of debate about, gratuities helping to fund, the companies just not paying their people. But the fact is, it is what it is. And having, I like to interact with the people who work on the ship, and just hear their stories and stuff like that. But I mean, that makes a huge difference to them because they're on that ship a long time. And a lot of them come from places that are impoverished. And so those gratuities make a huge difference for them and their families.
Absolutely. So you don't have to give gratuities when you go in a bar. I mean, I usually do when I go to the same bar all the time. I have the same people because it's something on the cruise. Usually they have the same people, have the same schedule every day. So if you go at the same time every day, you will have the same server. And usually on the cruise, service is extremely good. So the people will care for you. They know what you drink very fast. They know your name and stuff like that. So I like to, but it's not obligation because it's included in the gratuities that are mandatory. So it's hard to say, but I always give something. And, because like you said, so the way it works for most ships, you have like the people on the ship are there for 3 months, and then they are 3 months off, and then 3 months on, 3 months off. So yeah, so they are every day like working, but it's a lifestyle,
Oh yeah, having to adjust and all that. The other thing we wanted to touch on a bit, because I know you and I, when we fly a lot, we're always trying to figure out, how do we not check a bag? Because it's just quicker to have the carry-on, not have to wait for the luggage to come after a flight and all that stuff. And before the episode started, you made an interesting point about if they're living in a state where there is a port and the benefits to that. So maybe you can expand upon that in terms of the luggage.
Absolutely. So we know when we're flying, like it's always like, what's the limit? How many luggage I can take? How much money is going to cost me? Well, on a cruise, you don't have a luggage limit. So if you live for example, we are in Florida here. So we have Tampa, Orlando, Port Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, and we have Miami. And, if you go up north, you have more. But those are the main one, the 4 main ones. So you can travel if you can take a car and go, or take a Uber or take a car service. You can take as many luggage as you want. You check them in and then you put them in your stateroom and that's it. So that's a positive point when you have a family, because family team seems to drag more stuff because you have things for the children and things like that. So you don't have to worry about that. So that's a good component. Now, when you're flying overseas, of course, it's the same thing. You don't have to pay for the luggage on the ship in Europe, for example, or in Asia or Africa, whatever you're going. But you need to pay for the luggage when you are flying. So that's something to take into consideration. But when you do like domestic one, and you don't have to take a flight, that's something good to know, is that you can take as many luggage as you want.
Came in handy for me when we had the theme night for the annual conference on the Celebrity Ascent, because I had a suitcase just with all the outfits that I needed.
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
So something to think about. And since we talk about flying, something also that people may not realize when they're not used to travel a lot. So when you travel from US to Europe, you always fly overnight. All right. So you cannot do something else than flying overnight, because you have the 6 hours difference that you're going to have at the end of the trip, plus the 7, 8, 9, depending where you live from. If you live from West Coast, even more that you need to add on. So you always leave sometime in the afternoon if you're on the East Coast, and you always, or evening, and you land sometime between the morning and early afternoon. So when you go for a cruise, it's very hard to land, take the luggage, go to the port and take the cruise. So majority of people, and I highly recommend to take a night, first, because you have also the jet lag. The jet lag is the worst when you go, because you spend all the nights, like part of the night in the plane, then you land. When you land, it's usually very early morning or still night, and then you start the day. Unless you can sleep in the plane, God bless you, but I cannot. So that's usually 2 full days that you will not have sleep. So that's really good to take a day to just walk around in whatever city you're landing, and then have a good night of sleep, in order to be ready the next day. Also, if you have a flight with delay, then you don't have to worry about, okay, man, I have to take another flight to go to the second destination where the ship will be, and things like that. So always rule of thumb, when you are flying to take a cruise in Europe or in Asia or anything else, just make sure that you have at least a night booked pre. And that's something I always do for my client. I tell them that in advance, like with that prospect who called me before the podcast, that was the same thing as well. Like you need to, oh yes, that's good news. That's good idea. I will take a night before for us or 2 other couples. So yeah. And then after the post, that's not really necessary, because most of the time the port is close to an airport, and usually you get off around 7 to 9 a.m. And so you can, unless you have an early flight, normally flights are usually for Europe are usually like early afternoon. So then you can easily go from there to the airport and then take a flight back, unless you want to visit the destination you arrive to, if it's not a loop, and then you can do that as well. So there are unlimited options, but this is something important to think about. If you think like budget-wise, I will just go to the ship, go back. It's probably not going to work, or it's going to be a lot of stress along the way.
Yeah. No, that great call out. What about things like maybe little things not everyone may think about, especially if they're new to cruising, like attire for meals? Like some cruise lines, you have more formal attire, others not. Anything along those veins that you think would be useful for people to think about?
Yes, and that's something I also bring up, depending which cruise line. Like you mentioned, like if you go to MSC, Carnival, Royal, Norwegian, pretty much anything. Like you go the step above, like Princess, Celebrity, Virgin, probably a little bit. You cannot have like sandals and wet shorts, like from the pool to the dinner table. But usually they accept pretty much everything unless, if you look at the rules, they will say like you need a polo or a shirt but I saw multiple instances people going with a nice t-shirt and it's going well. It's just that they don't want people to be looking like they just come out of the pool and coming directly to the dinner table. Then when you go like Holland America, like Regent, or you go to, all those higher class like Seabourn and all of those, then of course you will have usually a 1 night or 2 night. It's a team night. Even Royal and stuff do that, but it's not mandatory unless you go to that restaurant. So if you can always go to the buffet, and you can wear whatever you want. But when you go to specialty restaurants or the main dining room, sometimes they have 1 night. So yeah, the attire is all about which cruise line you go to, and sometimes some specification about the days. But it's very clear on the app or on the website as well. But I'm there also to share that. But most of the time you will not have a problem unless you go higher level. Then it's more like formal than others. But it's going to be explained. But it's good to know and to share that, of course, with our clients.
Yep. Any other tips or tricks or something that people sometimes may not think about that you think would be good to call out?
Yes, I would think about the shores, the excursions.
Yeah.
Excursion is always better to schedule in advance. Why? Sometimes you have very strict limitations in the amount of people who can go to some of them. And then when you get closer to the cruise, you can already see online or on your application, this is booked, this is sold out. And so if you want, when you book, I always recommend to book for Europe 6 to 9 months in advance. For if you live in the States, at least 3, but probably 4 or 5 months in advance is better. And then you have like the full scope of what's available and you just pick what you want. It's also usually better price wise. You have usually 10-20% reduction, promotion if you book that in advance, than if you book on the ship. So on the ship is a full price and you have to take what nobody else had. So I always recommend when you want to do excursion that you plan that in advance. It's going to be beneficial for everything. We as travel agent, we can take care of, depending the brand, or some of them, we can take care of it for you. But majority of the time, you will have to do it online or on the application. But we are happy to explain to you how to do it. It's very easy as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's what I have for now. But I'm pretty sure if I think about something, we're gonna mention that in one of our future episodes. But I think we're good.
Yeah. And if you are like me and you don't like wrinkly clothes, you can't pack an iron. They will confiscate it because it's a risk to the ship. So make sure you don't pack an iron.
True thing. And if you travel overseas, of course, don't forget you need your passport.
Yeah.
And if you do if you do a loop in Florida, for example, which we are in Florida, so we sell tons of Florida cruise. If you have a passport is always the best to do. It's so much easier. It's for 10, 12 years. It's cost 2 times nothing. It's like literally the way to go. If you want to use a birth certificate, you need to have also the driver license with the same exact full name, which I saw multi-time different because some people get married, divorced, and then you have like 2 different ones. You have the middle name is not on one on the driver license. That would be a problem as well. It needs to be identical and it has to be the original one. So who wants to take on a ship an original birth certificate? Yeah, I mean, but sometimes if it's last minute and someone doesn't have it, but if you book anything 3 months and above, you can definitely order a passport and be having on time. If it's a children, same thing. If it's a child, same thing. You need the birth certificate with one of the proof of government issued documents. So you will need to go to the town hall to ask for. So it's a lot of back and forth for no reason really.
Yeah. No, great tip. So hopefully winners you got at least one, if not multiple nuggets. So to help make your next dream vacation just that, a dream experience for each of you. So again, thanks again for tuning in to Two for the Win. Please be sure to follow us, subscribe, share, and follow all the major platforms. Thanks again to Nick Menard and Associates with Dream Vacations for sponsoring today's episode. And we will see you on Friday for our Fanatic Friday. We have some things to talk about there. Hope you enjoy. So in the meantime, be well, listeners, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye, winners.
Bye.